All right, howdy folks. Welcome back to Top Comics Pressing. This is going to be a follow-up to one of the comic books that I showed in one of my comic book unboxing videos. This is a copy of Detective Comics number 43, very early Batman appearance from 1940. It is just only months after Batman number 1 was published, which would have been spring 1940. And it has what I think is the very, very cool kind of bighorn Batman logo on the corner there. This one came back from CGC with a cover married, and I was surprised by that when I did the unboxing video. And part of the reason that I was surprised is I got this from a comic book store that, didn't have a whole lot of Golden Age selection, so it's not like they were a big-time Golden Age dealer or anything like that. And to have a married cover, you would have to have a wrap, which or a stack of wraps, and then you'd have to go find a cover from some secondary source. And that's going to be pretty hard to do for a comic book that's exceptionally rare, like a 1940s Batman comic book. And so we're going to crack this one out and see what CGC might have looked at. Now, these newer CGC cases post reholder gate have been sealed much tighter at the top, and I haven't always been able to get my screwdriver in them. And so when that's the case, what I do is I take a little bit of a pliers and just gently tap the corners and along the seam, and so far they've been pretty easy to split. And so that's what I did here to kind of prime this one to get it going here, and I'll see if I can get my fingers on in there and get the screwdriver in to help us bust this out of the slab. Now, like I said, I think it would be pretty rare for this one to be an actually married comic book, given how hard it is to come up with a copy of both the interior wraps and the matching cover of this book. And, that would be pretty rare, and particularly because you'd need to be able to, you wouldn't take a cover off a different comic book and marry it, especially if it's gonna be detached and have a full spine split. So it just kind of doesn't make sense for the condition. You might try to marry a cover if it's a really high grade copy or something like that, but yeah, anyway. So we'll take a peek at it here when we open it up. And there are some good telltale signs of a married cover, and so we'll look for those. One of them is gonna be where the staples line up. Yeah, this one we're going to cut through on the bottom there. There's a pretty good seam, pretty good space on the bottom. So we're going to look for the staples to line up. We're going to look to see if there's, staining on the interior that's not visible on the cover. We'll look to see if there is tanning lines that are present on both books. So, if the cover was stored in, let's say, a pristine environment and the inner wraps were stored in an attic, you might have, cream or tan inner wraps, and you might have a cover that doesn't have any signs of that tanning on it. So that would be a giveaway that it's been married or played with. Other than that, you can have them not physically line up in terms of size. So all comic books have a little bit of variation in the printing dimensions there. There you go. So holding that down, ripping that off. I just want to see what they might have seen. I'm assuming that there's something with the staples that I didn't appreciate. Like I said, if you know where this one came from, the odds of it being married are very, very low. Could be. Suspect more it was some CGC grader being a little upset about something gigantic. So clear off all of the plastic bits here. Just make sure I don't have anything there. All right, so this one does have a detached cover, so we should be able to slide it out of the cover. I'll just see if I can get my finger under the cover, but not under the book. There you go. Slide that on out. So there is some tape on the interior there. Now the inner wraps do have a blown staple up top. You might look at that and say, what's going on there? That inner page looks different, but if you look, they're all kind of bunched up and messed up, and depending on the where they were exposed and how much they were chunked in there, they'll all have slightly different colors. So this one was probably folded up under, and the lighter corner here was pressed against the interior, and it was only the edge there that was exposed to whatever elements. And you can see that on the complementary side, there's a bunch of dirt there. So the part of the reason why that particular page looks lighter than the rest of these is because this was presumably for decades folded over this way so that all that dirt was what was exposed, not the brighter interior pit. And this, I would say, does definitely have true cream to interior, pages. Let's take that out of there. It's the micro chamber paper. It's definitely, if anything, maybe even tan on the edges. So I wouldn't fault the light tan grade on there. You can see it's pretty discolored, even for a Golden Age book. And there's going to be a little bit of brittleness right in here where it's the most elementally worn. Now, this could be our answer right there to what CGC saw for a married cover. You can see here that this has a lighter interior through here, and it has a lighter interior through here, and so that indicates something was covering that part of the book, presumably for some period of time, and this book doesn't quite have that same aging. Now there's nothing up here by the top staple that I think that's obviously completely blown out up there, and maybe the bottom staple, if I lay this in here, doesn't quite line up perfect, but it's not that bad, and both of them do have the exact same rounding right there on the bottom corner. And I have seen really unusual aging on covers, and so I'm not so sure that is anything untoward. But what I am going to do is try to clear off some of this pulp from underneath that top staple. That's presumably from the cover when it was still attached. And so there is a little shred of cover under there. Let's grab a backer board here. Usually it's easier to push out on those inner staples. Obviously there's a little bit of a chip coming off right on top of there. It looks like the centerfold is detached. So what I'm going to do here is try to push on that from the inside with that staple and see if that'll help me pull some of this off. No, it's going to be... very stubborn, but I think we got enough of it there. You can sometimes slide something under the staple, but I don't think with the age of this paper that's a good idea. Makes more sense to just undo that. I think that lines up pretty well with that top hole. I don't think that there's anything too crazy going on there. Tape, a piece of tape, and then if I have this lined up, what I'm going to do is just separate a little bit of the paper fiber right from in here. Might ask why to do that. Well, one of the ways, like I said, to determine if something is married or not is to have where that staple hole lines up. And this one matches really well. It just doesn't match perfect, and I wonder if that's part of what they were seeing. So it lines up a lot better now. And this whole area is totally ripped out, so I think that's probably fine. I mean, the staples are on the side, which is where they should. So generally, if something is married, those staples might be on the front or on the back cover. And certainly if you have wraps that are stapled perfectly on the side and you have those staples that are, even this staple tear is in the right spot. So this is a horizontal staple tear across the front cover, and this is the part of the book where that would have been attached, and so that staple tear is exactly where it should be. You know, the corners down here are rounded to the exact same extent. I mean, I don't know if you can see it in the camera there, but that is like to the degree it has a very clear S shape down there, and that lines up perfect. So I think part of what they might have seen is just the staple being a little bit off and some of that odd discoloration on the interior, but I've seen that before on plenty of books. So I think that's about all I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to leave that tape. Tape again is damaged, not resto, and it might have actually been tape or something else that had that border, because you can see in here there's a second line right here, and that was presumably from tape that got partially removed. I don't know what this is from, maybe a staple or something else, or a different piece of tape, but it looks like, you know, over the years somebody's partially removed some of the tape from in the interior. I'm probably going to see if I can remove this piece that looks like it's barely hanging on there. So we'll see if we can peel that back and just save the world from that. Now, the stickiness you don't really want to get on anything, so I'm just going to rub off as much glue as I can. Cotton rounds will do that as well, so I think that's about all we want to do here. Alright, so I'm gonna, you know, line this back up. I'll iron out that flap and some little other things, but nothing else worth watching about. What I really wanted you to see is how close that bottom corner lines up with the exact same angle, how tight the top staple and that staple tear line up quite nicely. And again, how in general this interior wrap, you know, clearly has a bunch of aging on it, and that matches the interior of these covers quite a bit. So you can see up here particularly how dark it gets compared to a clean white sheet of paper that I can find over here, a brand new backer board. So I mean, if you compare that, that is, you know, it's pretty creamy, and that's definitely brown or tan. And again, I would not even fault CGC if they labeled, you know, that page quality there is tan. That to me is very, very dark up top, and it clearly has evidence of a lot of environmental exposure. So that is how we're going to do it. Yeah, so fingers crossed, we'll resubmit this one. If it comes back married a second time, I'll believe them and move on. But at least for the moment, I think it's worth taking another shot at. All right, folks, it's time for another CGC send-off video, and we've got a stack here of 15 vintage comics to be resubmitted to CGC. The first one up here is a copy of Detective Comics number 43. This was in one of my prior unboxing videos that CGC said was a married cover, and I just thought that had a very low probability, both based on the issue, also where I bought this from. And so I did crack it on out and re-examine kind of where the staple holes were and just try to make it a little bit more clear where they could have been. One of the things that really made me doubt that it was married after opening it up is the damage on this corner has like a distinct kind of M shape to it, and it matches on the cover perfectly. And the only thing that might have been off a little bit, I think, is that staple. So anyway, we're going to send that one, and hopefully it'll come back universal. If not, I guess it's a married copy, and I'll live with it. It's epic either way. Detective 43 still has the old Batman logo in the top corner. You know, very, very cool appearance. Poor Robin being captured, and one of his only, you know, first appearances. So that's pretty epic. Next up here, we have a copy of Fantastic Four 94. So hopefully this one will come on back before the Agatha show drops, and we can post that one. This is a copy of Wonder Woman number 204 I bought from Nostalgia Zone. I was hoping for a Chris Bumsky, but unfortunately this one I think he had correctly graded, and it does have a subscription crease right down there. So unfortunately, it's more pronounced on the back, but I think that one's probably going to stay, you know, in that mid-grade 6.0 kind of range. And so I don't even think I attempted the foxing removal based on that. I think I just left a little batches of foxing there. But very nice Wonder Woman comic book anyway, and of course the first appearance of Nubia. Next on up here is an Amazing Spider-Man number 124. So this is the first appearance of Man-Wolf. This is my filler copy. I bought this thing and it's epically trashed, so you can see it's water damaged and kind of gross all the way through there. I did not even press this thing, so it has whole book water damage, and I did not even want to deal with it. So we're just going to send it as is, mostly because I don't think anybody will buy it raw. And so hopefully once it's encapsulated, even if it's low grade, I'll be able to find a buyer for that one. Next on up here is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 42. So this one has this kind of goofy edge here. I don't think that that's actually trimmed. So if you look at how the cover is sitting on there, you can see that there's space there. And if you pull it tight, it covers that space. But I didn't want to, you know, press it because of where the staples were and some tanning, and there's actually a very slight spine split up top. So right where this tear is all the way to the top there is actually open on the spine. And so that to me gets to be, you know, tanning with a spine split with marginal room for growth given all of the damage up around here and the creasing along here. You know, it no longer becomes a value increase to be able to press it, and so that one I'm going to leave unpressed and just send. Here we have Tales to Astonish number 92. So this is the first appearance of the Silver Surfer at the end of the issue outside of the Fantastic Four. This is the kickoff to the Silver Surfer and the Hulk, you know, telescaping through the cosmos. This one is in pretty good shape. There's a little bit of light creasing up around the corner here. There's some creasing over here. I'm hoping for like maybe a 7 on this one, so we'll see. You know, it's not the world's most popular key issue, but it is one where you know, this one I think is worth rolling and see what CGC says. Next on up here is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 22. So this one has a little bit of spine splitting down there on the bottom. All in all, it's in really, really good shape. And so we're going to hope for kind of a solid mid-grade on that one. I think there is some light staining on the back. Amazing Spider-Man 67, so hopefully this will be, you know, one of the 2 highest grade ones in this lot. This one looks really sharp with some minor edge wearing. There's a very, very small crease up there, but that's very tiny. The rest of this book looks really sharp, so that's actually a printer crease coming in from there. Very little bit of edge rounding. There's very, very light tanning on the interior, so I'm hoping for a 9.0 on that one. Fingers crossed. Amazing Spider-Man 36, so you know we're getting to the end of the Ditko run here. This one has a little bit of creasing and stuff, but it should be a pretty high-grade copy for a Silver Age Spider-Man, and so that's one that I picked up that I was happy with when I went back and reevaluated it. Yeah, so we're just going to slab that one. Amazing Spider-Man number 28, first appearance of the Molten Man. This one from the front looks very nice. A little bit of damage up here, but that kind of blends in with the Spider-Man logo, and not a whole lot else for these black covers that are really hard to find. This one does, however, though it had whole book water damage, and it was super wavy, and I had to take it all out and iron it, and there's still evident staining, so it's probably all the way down here. And so this one should have very good eye appeal for its technical grade, where the technical grade is set by the corner staining, but hopefully we've mitigated the full book water damage. Amazing Spider-Man 27, so one of the early Green Goblin appearances. This one just has a lot of creasing and tearing kind of all the way around it, so we're going to send that one on out just to get it slabbed. This one I picked up in a lot is a Dell 4-color 1961. You know, it won't be a 9.8, but if that Amazing Spider-Man's not the highest grade copy in this submission, this one should be, because it's the only other one that's got high grade. So it's got a few spine ticks, a little bit of corner blunting, a little bit of surface wear there. But for a 1961 book, very, very bright interior, very bright white pages. I'll point out too, this one is one of the brightest comics you can find from that early run. This thing looks like it was printed yesterday. So that's kind of cool. So we'll see what that one comes back at, but very excited about that one. This one I'm hoping also comes in pretty high grade. There's a little bit of a chip that's still attached right there. And there's very, very small edge tearing on the back, but hopefully that one will come in as another, you know, kind of early 70s Amazing Spider-Man. First cover appearance of Mary Jane right there. Number 59 for ASMs. This one has a blown top staple, so you can see that the cover's clearly separated down there, but the bottom one is still attached. So that one and this one I think has true cream pages, so you can see that if you look very closely at the top here, you can see how dark brown that blue is compared to the blue even right in here, and so there's a pretty good amount of interior tanning, and so with that one's gonna get slabbed before it gets damaged and that staple gets popped. This one also has some back cover issues and staining. From arm's length though, it's going to be one of the nicest copies. Again, very good eye appeal for a book at that technical grade. Again, the staining and whatnot will lower down the technical grade. And then our last one here for the bot is going to be X-Men number 59, epic showdown there between Cyclops and the Sentinels. This one I mostly did for the before and after pictures. It had a whole bunch of creasing and bends, and you could really see a whole book bend that stood up maybe a 1/4 inch right in the middle of it. And so we got all that out. But again, this one is also a super bright interior, very clear white pages in my opinion. If you're ever in Minneapolis, this one came from Heroic Goods and Games, which is run by Paul. So he's one of the favorite people in the Twin Cities for general nerddom. So, you know, be sure to swing by Heroic Goods and Games for action figures, cards, vintage video games, you know, the whole gambit. And so I was happy to buy this one from Paul. So that's my stack of 15. You know, I think the real nail biter in there is that Detective Comics. The rest of these, you know, I think I have a pretty good idea of what I'm going to get, but we'll still submit them and see what they come back at. So this will appear as only a few seconds to you, but it's going to be, you know, weeks, if not months for me. So in the meantime, please click that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, post the link to some friends, etc. All right, howdy folks, we're ready for an unboxing here. And this big beast of vintage greatness is back from CGC Comics. I think the only one in this box that was previously submitted was this 1.5 copy of Detective Comics number 43 from 1940. This one was previously given a 1.5 qualified grade, cream to off-white pages with the cover being married, if you look real close there. To me, it seemed very odd that it ever would have been called into question as being married. For a variety of reasons, and so I thought it needed to be submitted. So let's see how we did here with this vintage send-off. All right. Yes, I know they make box cutters or tape cutters, but I use the scissors. The other thing is, before people keep asking and keep writing nasty comments in this comment section, yes, I do return these labels. They will go back to CGC. I'll either mail them in if I get a big stack, or more likely I'll wait until I show up to a Comic-Con CGC is going to be at, and then I'll just give them to them. All right, first one we have here is a copy of The Amazing Spider-Man number 22. 4.5 grade. I think that seemed about where we thought we were going to go with it. It wasn't particularly high grade. Plenty of spine wear. Light staining on the back. You know, 4.5 from 1965 is respectable, so we will take that. Next one on up here is going to be a copy of X-Men number 59. This one I think I was hoping for a little bit more than a 5.0 on, but you know, it does have a good amount of wear down here. Nothing too horribly catastrophic, just a whole lot of compounding little defects. I did have to put this one through the ringer press-wise to really get it in its best shape and flatten it out. So I'll probably have some before and after pictures of that one. I'll eventually put up on Facebook or Instagram. Next one up here, randomly pulling them, is a copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 36. This one's coming in 6.5, which is probably slightly higher than I thought. I'd have to go back and re-review to be confident, but there definitely was a little bit of corner creasing there. Off-white to white pages, you know, this is nearing the end of the Steve Ditko run, and so very classic, very early Amazing Spider-Man, there we go. Next one on up here is Amazing Spider-Man number 59. This one is coming to us with cream to off-white pages, and it did indeed have some serious cover tanning, which you can kind of see here on some staining. It also had some light staining all the way through the bottom of the book. Books like this that have that medium to heavy tanning are not going to make great candidates for stain removal and whitening, because if you bleach them, it's going to be super obvious, because the interior wraps are going to be super dark all the way around the border, and then the cover is going to be sparkling and bright, and so that would be a pretty obvious tell. This one also, if I remember right, had the top staple blown, as well as some light spine splitting starting, and so that is another thing that makes it a poor candidate. Nevertheless, this is the first cover appearance of Mary Jane, so that one was pretty good. All right, this one is a little disappointing. So this one might be the rare misgrade here by Chris at Nostalgia Zone. I think this one was supposed to come in at about a 6.0. It's coming in at about a 5.0, so a little bit lower there. The one thing I missed before I bought it was it does have a big subscription crease top to the bottom. That subscription crease all on its own will limit you just to a 6.0, and it's really hard to get above a 5.5, particularly if there's any more creasing down here. But again, that top to bottom cover crease smack dab in the middle is where somebody had this folded in half, and you know, those kind of subscription creases are going to always just kill your grade. So anyway, 5.0 off-white pages, you know, that's kind of how that one goes. You win some, you lose some. Next one up here is going to be a copy of Fantastic Four 94. This one I also thought was going to grade a little bit higher. It does have a huge number of creases up here, and so CGC is going to take the combined length of all of that creasing. That being said, you know, there's a lot of little lines there, but they're all pretty small, so I think I was hoping for more like a 6.0 on that one. Coming in at 5.0 feels a little harsh, but you know, it could be if you added it all up. So that'd be there. Now I will comment, this one does feel a little loose in there, so if I shake that, you can kind of see it rattle. Hear it. Yeah, so that one's got a little bit of give on the inner well. Not a big fan of that. Next one up here is Amazing Spider-Man number 124. This one was epically trashed, and so it's coming in at a 2.0. Yeah, it was just stinky, old, waterlogged. It was first appearance of Man-Wolf. This was just a filler copy I bought for the PC when I had most of the full Amazing Spider-Man run. Since I've kind of downsized that, and that's where a lot of these are coming from. Next one up here is Amazing Spider-Man number 42. This is the one where you get Mary Jane's face at the end, so it's a very classic you know, panel at the end of this one. This one's also coming cream to off-white pages. You can see that on the back. It definitely has that tanning kind of especially visible down below and up top. You know, nothing too crazy there. Lots of edge wear and chipping. 4.0 seems fair on that one. No complaints. Oh, this one was the one we were hoping for here. So this one is coming back pretty high grade. Amazing Spider-Man number 67, 9.0 off-white white pages. It does have, you know, a little bit of light wear up top, a little bit of a little crease over there, some rounding on the corners. So 9.0 I think is pretty fair on that one. Yeah, I'll take it. You know, anything that hits 9 on an early Amazing Spider-Man is pretty awesome. So that one's a big one. Here we have Amazing Spider-Man 134. This one was coming in at an 8.0. It did have a little bit of a chip out right there. But again, you know, an 8.0 copy is still pretty respectable for you know, a 1970s book, particularly one that is a first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man. So this would be the first appearance of the Tarantula, popular character who spent a lot of time tormenting Peter Parker in the Spectacular Spider-Man series. All right, next one up here is Tales to Astonish number 92. Silver Surfer, this I believe is the first appearance of the Silver Surfer outside of the Fantastic Four series. And additionally, it should be the kind of send-off where the Silver Surfer and the Hulk go kind of blasting through space, which is pretty nice. I knew this one had a little bit of edge wear up top. I was kind of hoping that they'd lump that all in together. It was just some early Silver Age kind of stuff and forgive a little bit of it. I mean, we weren't expecting like a 9.8 or anything on there, but you know, I think a 7.0 might be a little harsh on that one. The reason you get all that fine creasing up top on the edge is because the inner pages were just slightly shorter. They weren't trimmed or anything. That was pretty common to have the cover and the inner pages not quite line up perfect. And of course, over the years, anything that was set on there or rolled against it causes that creasing where the cover sticks out a little bit more than the pages. It's super common on 60s Marvel books, and unfortunately, it always does kill the grade. So you can have a very, very, very beautiful high-grade copy that has nothing but, you know, a little bit of light wear across the top edge. So that's what that one's suffering from. All right, this one was kind of my odd duck here. This is the 4-color. This is, you know, the Untouchables kind of movie cover TV. The thing about this one is I was kind of hoping that they would overlook the hairline crease right on the spine there, but it looks like they caught it and dinged it down to an 8.5. It does, however, have the all-important white pages, which is pretty good. This one looks, you know, newsstand bright on the interior, and so I would have been shocked if this one actually came back with anything less than white pages. A couple of those Amazing Spider-Mans I'm really shocked are not also white pages, because I would have thought that they should be. Oh yeah, this one for sure I would have thought should be absolutely white pages. Low grade, I think it called out in this one how much staining there was on the send-off, so you can definitely see it all the way through here as well as up along the back there, so you can see it there. And definitely along here, but this thing looked white as white could be to me, so I'm a little disappointed in that off-white to white pages. Very, very good eye appeal from arm's length though for a 3.0 copy. Super bright. Yeah, a little disappointed with the page quality. All right, off-white pages here. Got a little bit of some CGC fuzz on that one. Amazing Spider-Man 27, first, or an early Green Goblin appearance, not the first one, that would be ASM 14. Lots of reader creasing, you know, lots of other creasing, some light staining. So again, this is just a fairly early Amazing Spider-Man here. Pretty cool comic to have for sure, not in high grade by any means. We'll take that. And that brings us to our last comic book here, which is Detective Comics number 43, 1.5 grade. This makes me so happy to see the Universal Blue grade. Again, I don't think this book was ever married. I don't know what CGC saw the first time. You know, I was happy to just rip up the spine a little bit where the staple holes were, just to make that a little bit, you know, less suspicious maybe. I don't know if that was really it or not. The other thing I want to draw your attention to as I look at this is these were sent a couple of weeks apart, or at least as soon as I got this one back, you know, I pretty much had this one ready to go back out the door. I did not press this at any point in between, and the page quality has dropped from cream to off-white to slightly brittle. As you can see, CGC, in my opinion, has zero consistency on their page quality. So, I mean, to go from cream to off-white and qualified to slightly brittle and universal is bonkers to me on a resubmission. Not only do the page qualities, they're not even adjacent tiers, right? Slightly brittle is right below brittle, which is literally as bad as it gets. And cream to off-white is pretty normal for Golden Age books. So this thing wasn't pressed. You know, you watched all the work I did on it. It's totally nuts to me that you get that difference on resubmit. So that's how it goes though. At least in this case, it came out in my favor. And so this one's gonna go hang out in the PC for quite some time. This is, I don't think my earliest Batman, but it's gotta be close. I really love it here with the scowling Batman and the logo, particularly with the ears kind of forked out and looking angry. So that looks really good. I'm very happy to see the Universal grade on that one. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the process here. Feel free to drop some comments down below. Leave me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and feel free to reach out on Facebook or Instagram. I know at least I have pictures of the X-Men 50, wherever that one was, or the Cyclops Sentinel cover one. And there, other than that, most of these, you know, kind of came out pretty close to at least what we were hoping for. So anyway, take care, keep on collecting what you enjoy, and feel free to reach on out.